Let's see, for starters, this is the Stanford Health Policy PhD program information session for potential applicants. If you were not anticipating being in a information session about the Stanford Health Policy PhD program this morning or this evening, depending on where you are, this would be the time to figure out where you're supposed to be. But hopefully you are all here and hoping to get the information about what I consider our excellent PhD program. I'm going to start, I actually wanted to start with some introductions. First and foremost, I want to let our amazing Student Services Officer, Ms. Abutu, introduce herself. So I'll let you take it over.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Elizabeth Abutu. I am the Student Services Officer for the Department of Health Policy. I've been working with the Department of Health Policy for about 2 years now, and I'm very happy to be here and happy to be supporting the program.
We are very, very lucky to have you. Okay, I am, just to introduce myself, I am Corinna Haberland. I help the new Department of Health Policy run actually both the PhD program and the master's program, and sort of function as the administrative director of the PhD program. And I will not embarrass myself by telling you how long I have been at Stanford. Way too, very long time. Just so you know, we're going to we have a set of slides with information. We're going to try to address some of the more common questions that seem to come up, and give you a little bit of information about health policy and about our program. We will, we do have those questions that some of you pre-submitted. And we will, but along the way, during different portions of the talk, we'll stop for questions. Please, if you have questions as we're talking about things, please enter them into the chat. And we'll, when we do our little pause between sections, we'll try to get to those. And then at the end, we have the pre-submitted questions. So if there's anything that we somehow didn't manage to address during the talk, we'll make sure we'll hit on those, and we'll ask for more questions at the end as well. All right, so let's move along here. I always think it's important to, give sort of the big picture, the first question might be, what is health policy? So hopefully, those of you who are interested in the program, are interested in health policy. We like to say health policy investigates how social factors, financing systems, organizational structures and processes, health technologies, and personal behaviors affect the accessibility, quality, and cost of healthcare. And this all ultimately impacts our health and well-being. That's how our program thinks about health policy. Stanford Health Policy offers this PhD program, which promises to educate students who will be scholarly leaders in the field of health policy, and will be highly knowledgeable about both the theoretical and empirical approaches that can be applied to the development of improvements in health policy and healthcare systems, and that's both in the US and abroad. The curriculum offers courses and training across a wide range of health policy areas, including health economics, modeling, health insurance and government program operations, health financing, international health policy and economic development, cost effectiveness analysis and the evaluation of new technologies, data science, health law and ethics, health systems operations, along with all of the relevant statistical and methodological approaches that are needed to look at those areas. And then you might, after that long list, it's perhaps no shock that, that health policy is inherently interdisciplinary. And so in my why Stanford question, aside from the fact that it's a beautiful campus and, we, have great weather and all that kind of good stuff, but, health policy is inherently interdisciplinary. And it's the discipline where fields such as medicine, economics, decision sciences, business, law, public health, political science, and ethics all intersect. And Stanford offers a particularly rich environment to study and work in the field of health policy. The university encourages, not just in health policy, but across many disciplines, encourages interdisciplinary work. You'll see this if you look at all the various centers that the university is set up, or basically people or faculty or folks that are interested in addressing a particular issue will come from many different schools and departments to work together on that issue. Health policy is one example. So Stanford really encourages this interdisciplinary work. But in addition to that, all of our schools and various departments are all on one campus. So what I often tell prospective students is that you can literally have a class at the School of Business in the morning, come back to the Center for Health Policy to have a meeting with your advisor, ride your bike over to the medical center to have a meeting with perhaps one of the clinicians who's giving expert advice on a project, then go back to the School of Engineering to have a conversation with some of the faculty there. It's just, and make it back in time to the office set in Encina Commons to work on the problem set for the course that you had in the morning. So, it's all doable. You'll get in your 10,000 steps, don't get me wrong, it's a big campus, but it's, it really, the fact that everyone is on the same campus really lends itself well to this interdisciplinary work. Okay, now, next, oops, sorry, no, of course, I had to wake up my computer again, sorry. So next question that often comes up is questions about the history of the program. We are a young program. That there's no doubt about it. We admitted our first PhD students arrived in the fall of 2015. So we've only been around for about 6 years. Therefore, we do not have a large graduate pool yet. We have 5 alumni who are all doing well and pursuing the fields that they were, the fields that they were interested in. Just by way of example, we have 3 in academic settings, in postdocs and in faculty positions at the University of Illinois, Chicago, at Penn State, and at Johns Hopkins. 2 of our graduates decided to move more into the industry tech world, and we have 1 graduate who's working at Google and another one who is working at ZS Consulting. So just to give you a sense of the broad interests and career paths that our student, even just our 5 alumni so far, have taken. And we currently have 12 students. That's the total number of students across all years, 12. I have the links up on the slide for folks. They're easily, if you want to see more about what the interests and backgrounds of our trainees and our alumni are, you can take a look on the health policy website. Okay. So next question that often comes up is the question about our curriculum. First and most importantly, we do have a core set of courses that we feel that, basically that encompass. Okay. We have this core set of courses that we feel that all health policy students that we train should be well equipped or knowledgeable in. This includes certain methods and topics and ways to approach research ideas. So that's sort of our core set, and those are listed on the website, on the program website, if you wanted to take a closer look. And then we have our tracks. We're currently offering 3 tracks, including one which is new that we're offering this year. The Evaluative Methods track is very new. But let me talk about the 3, and then I'll fill you in on the differences. So the Decision Sciences track is focused on providing quantitative techniques to assess the effectiveness and value of medical treatments, and for decision-making about medical care and health policies at the individual or collective sort of population health level. Health economics includes the economic behavior of individuals, providers, insurance, and governments, and offers a methodological training to measure how their actions affect health and medical care. And the Evaluative Methods track encompasses advanced statistical, computational, and other quantitative methodologies appropriate for application in areas of interest to students such as organizational behavior, law, ethics, and data science. And like I said, students who are in those tracks will all take that core set of courses. And then the tracks will have different expectations in terms of core methods. Economics does a little more in terms of microeconomics and econometrics, whereas Decision Sciences and the Evaluative Methods track also have microeconomics and econometrics, and then have somewhat more specific statistical methods. And then each track is expected to take sort of more advanced field courses, so to speak. And those are also listed on the website. The biggest difference, with the Evaluative Methods track, though, is that whereas Decision Sciences and econometric, or the health economics track, have sort of this four field or more advanced methods courses, the Evaluative Methods track at this point is it has 4 content and 4 methods courses that will be decided upon between the student, the advisor, and the director of graduate studies, as which is basically will be seen as most appropriate to the student's interests and research plans, basically. Students or applicants often ask me or ask faculty that they're talking to, what track should they think about applying to? And what I have always said is that the applicant should look at the methods and the research that is research methods that are being offered in those various tracks, and think about really like what tools do what tools do you want in your toolbox when you are thinking about health policy questions, issues that you are interested in looking at? What are the tools that you want to basically work on those issues, and which track offers the methods, the tools that will best allow you to move forward and work in that area that you're most interested in? Okay, so I'm going to pause now and see what we have in terms of questions, if there are any. Please feel free to drop some questions in the chat. All right. Not seeing a lot. Oh, what? Hang on.
You're coming in here.
Okay. 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 We will talk about GRE scores in a little bit. Question. Okay. The question about the UCSF. We are. So we are big on collaboration, both across departments and across with other institutions. I will say that you know, the most important thing is for students to be able to work on their studies and their research, and you know, and give themselves enough time to do that, you know, their own work. And so we say any conversation about collaboration, whether here at Stanford or in other places, should take place in the context with the student and their advisor, deciding what works best for the student moving forward, making sure that they have, again, the time and the space to work on their own research. But if that all seems to work together in a good organic way, then that would be, you know, would be something I think the advisor and student could discuss. Okay. Sorry, let's see. Question about econ classes. Yes, so that's actually something very nice. So obviously different, you know, departments and courses have prerequisites and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to speak for other professors, but our students are able to enroll in courses across the university. Again, getting back to that interdisciplinary you know, beauty of Stanford. So they can, you know, we have students enrolled at the Graduate School of Business. We have students enrolled in classes in the engineering department, in the statistics department, at the med school. So just so you know, there's a lot of flexibility in terms of students enrolling in courses that might be, you know, might be benefit. I mean, again, I always say students need to talk with their advisors to make sure the classes that they're taking, you know, are beneficial to them and their plans. But that's the Stanford's very flexible about working across, you know, taking courses in other schools. Sorry. Sorry, Katerina, good question about the evaluative methods track. Right now, we don't have any examples listed on the website. If you wanted to think about methods that would be of interest to you, there's a great site that Stanford offers. It's called Stanford Explore Courses. And you can look at different courses that are being offered again, across the whole university. You know, so if there are particular methods that you think you're interested in, that you think might be really useful if you're applying in the evaluative methods track, that would give you a sense of what's offered and available. Let's see, sorry. Emma, good question. Sorry, which track would be most suitable for focusing on the social determinants of health and health equity? Again, any. It's really which tools you want to use. We have health economists looking at health issues of health equity. We have data scientists looking at health equity and access. We have our decision scientists, you know, doing modeling around, just by example, like modeling around the benefits of different disbursement of the COVID-19 vaccine to different areas in California to maximize health equity and reduce disparities. So, you know, any of the tracks, the tools that are offered in any of those tracks can be applied to those, you know, to the health equity and disparities for sure. Okay, slowly. So Marcella, is the track we choose in our application definitive? I'm going to assume you mean like, do you get to switch if you change your mind, kind of a thing? Please tell me if I'm misinterpreting your question. We have students, I mean, students apply and, you know, so apply in certain tracks. And we have students who are admitted in those tracks, and the advisor is assigned according to, you know, faculty who are most closely aligned with the matriculating students' interests. You know, that being said, many of our students work with, you know, many different faculty. It's not that the students are tied to one faculty member. And so, for example, we have students in the decision sciences track who are working with our data science faculty, and we have students in the economics track who are working with some of our decision science faculty. So there's definitely a lot of cross-pollination and overlap. I would say again, in terms of your application, think about which of those core sort of method, core tools that you would be interested in acquiring most align with what you are interested in doing in health policy, and apply that way. Is it helpful if I have my own data, or is it preferable that I look at how I can fit my research into what advisors are pursuing? So we do not follow a lab model program, so there's not an expectation that students will do exactly what their advisors are doing. If people have their own data or access to data that they feel they would really like to work with, that's fantastic. If that manifests itself, sometimes getting data can be difficult, of course. Okay, let's see, are there, Joseph, thanks. Are there ways to pursue qualitative research opportunities in combination with or in addition to the quantitative research? Yes, absolutely. So there are some opportunities to do more qualitatively focused research. Again, this is, it will, some of this is work that we have students doing some of that kind of work right now. It's a matter of working, working together with faculty, talking with advisors, figuring out what will best fit their career interests and intents. Oops, sorry. Oh, Emanuela, yes, course waivers would be the same for if so there's a piece in the student, sorry, I'll read the question and then I'll talk about what's in there. So Emanuela asked, in the handbook, is the course waivers the same as in the evaluative methods track? The answer is yes. So we certainly have had students come in with having taken graduate level courses in, like for example, if they've taken econometrics already, the equivalent courses in econometrics, it is possible to get a waiver, and that's listed, the process is listed in the handbook, but that would be the same for the evaluative methods track. Of course, there is still the expectation that students, when they get the waiver, will that they will take the appropriate number of units that are needed for the degree. It's not the same as, I want to be clear, it's not the same as getting credit for units. It's just that the recognition that some students will come in with more advanced coursework and might prefer to take an even more advanced course rather than retaking some class they've already taken. Okay, I think I'm tapped out now, or not.
We do have a few questions in the Q&A section,
in the Q&A. Okay,
but
okay.
I think for time's sake, we can move on to the next section, and then when we come back to the next Q&A session, we can address those.
That sounds fantastic. Yes, because I think actually we will be addressing some of these questions in a bit. Okay, so let's move on. There we go. Okay, and now it, of course, jumped around, but I think we got it. Okay, so questions that come up with applications, we'll move through here relatively quickly. We roughly get anywhere in the past years, we've gotten anywhere from 65 to 90 applications. Since we are a small program, you'll see that we usually have anywhere for our class size is usually 1 to 4. The last few years it's been 2. So that makes our admissions rate relatively low. We are, like I said, so moving on. I'm sorry, Elizabeth, did you continue on or should I just go?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay, all right. So, so like I said before my computer so rudely interrupted me, I'm so sorry, that we are a very small program. We anticipate this continuing on at least for the next few years. But I will say I tell our students we are small but mighty. Our small sizes, class sizes allow us sort of maximum flexibility and really working with the students and helping maximize the program to address and help them pursue their interests. It also allows for an excellent faculty to student ratio, and our students, I feel, get really phenomenal attention from their advisors, not just their advisors, but from the faculty as a group. As I mentioned before, a lot of them do work, it's not just working with 1 or 2 advisors, they work with multiple faculty members. And so that our small size really allows and helps that. Advising really is a critical cornerstone of our program. Our faculty are so committed to working closely with the students and meet frequently with their advisees to discuss classes, research interests, career plans, etc. I know this is a question that comes up. Advisors are assigned to admitted students the summer before they matriculate. There is no need for applicants to reach out and connect with or get agreement from a faculty member to be an advisor during the application process. Again, as I said earlier, we're not sort of that classic lab-based model where I know some programs expect applicants to reach out to faculty and get a position in the faculty member's lab. That is not how we work. So there's no need for reaching out and asking faculty to be advisors. And we do assign the advisors based on interests and track and really try to make it a custom fit, so to speak. Okay, let's see if I'm almost afraid to click on anything at this point here. So requirements for the application. So I do want to emphasize that, well, not officially required, it is really strongly encouraged that applicants have or plan to have at time of matriculation a strong quantitative background. So that means mathematical skill at the level of multivariate calculus and courses in linear algebra, analysis, probability, and statistics. Even for students who might be interested in bringing in qualitative methods, there is this core set of courses that is very quantitative that is expected of all of our students. I do want to emphasize, though, that the admissions committee is very committed to a holistic review of the applications. So there's not one thing that is going to make or break an application. It's really a full review of applicants' interests, their background, their research or their research interests. So it's really, the committee really tries to look at everything. And then, very important, GREs are optional. Just because it's not on the slide, I want to be sure to mention that GREs are optional. I've had applicants ask me whether they should submit their GREs or not. And really, truly, if you feel it somehow strengthens your application, if the GRE scores you received feel like they really reflect a strength of yours, then by all means submit them. If you have not taken them or you feel you would rather not submit them, that is fine too. So they are truly optional. Oh, and finally, it's important to remember, and we do list this on the site, and I think the graduate admissions site also has it, but to be eligible for admission to graduate programs at Stanford, applicants must have either a bachelor's from a US college or university, or have the equivalent from a non-US university. More information on for international applicants and or for students who studied abroad at another university it can be found on the Stanford grad admissions site. They give good guidance on how to figure out what is applicable and what is not. And then the other thing that I often get questions about is the statement of purpose. We ask that applicants list obviously their policy areas of interest, and then what track they envision will help them address that policy area of interest again. I always tell applicants to see the statement of purpose as an opportunity to tell the admissions committee about themselves, right? Like tell the admissions committee what it is that makes you excited about health policy, what your passion is, what you hope to do, why you think the track that you're interested in will help you tackle this, and also certainly why you think Stanford might be a particularly good fit for that. But it's your opportunity to tell the admissions committee about yourself. They will also have your CV. There is no need to relist your CV in your statement of purpose. It's really tell the admissions committee what it is that moves you, and let them get to know you as a person, is the way I talk about it. Okay, I'm going to now turn over the conversation to Elizabeth.
Hi, thank you so much, Corinna. And thank you everybody for all your questions and your participation so far. Again, excuse me if you hear my daughter exclaiming in the background. She's watching her favorite TV show, so she's very excited right now. So going on with our presentation, you do need, as part of your application, 3 letters of recommendation. They should be professional, from professional references, and making sure I have some people, can my mom or can my sister, preferable somebody that has experience with you as a professional, either in your work or in your academics. For TOEFL scores, if you're an international student, you may need to submit a TOEFL score. So that is kind of on a case-by-case basis. There are some countries that are exempt from having to take the TOEFL, and I can, later on in the presentation, I can go ahead and put a link in there. And even actually, if you look at some of the links I've posted, there's some information on that on the graduate admissions website. This is a university requirement, and unfortunately our department we can't waive it, but there is a TOEFL waiver that the university does offer. I can also post the link to that. So if you feel like you're not, maybe you grew up in a country where, you spoke English, the national language of your country is English. I get this question all the time, and all my instruction was in English, but I'm not part of the countries that are exempt, then you can go ahead and fill out a TOEFL waiver. And the graduate admissions office is in charge of approving those waivers. So for official transcripts, unofficial transcripts are what we need to process your application. We don't need official transcripts immediately. If you get admitted to the program, we will then request the official transcripts, and we do need transcripts for all college and university degrees and courses. I do get the question a lot of, I only took one course at this university. Do I have to list that, or do I have to provide a transcript? Right now, the requirement is that if it's a program that you got a degree from, or you spent, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Corinna, I believe it's like a year worth of experience in that, then we would require that. But if you feel like that experience or that course is something that can add to your application, by all means, feel free to put it in. We're not going to say, oh, you put it in, that's bad. So at that point, it's up to you whether or not you would like to include it. And then we'll also need your CV with relevant work and research experience. We do have people who are admitted to the program from different walks of life. I have people ask me, do you have to be a medical doctor, or do you have to be, in a certain profession? And definitely not. We welcome people from different careers, different walks of life, different cultures. The country where you're applying from or that you've gone to school from does not have any impact, any negative impact to the admission process and your consideration. So I like us to keep that in mind. Here she comes. So I'd like to pause really quickly in case anybody has any questions in regard to the application requirements.
I see one question in the Q&A about the IELTS.
Oh, yes.
Whether that's acceptable or not.
So the university unfortunately does not accept the IELTS. They only accept the TOEFL, and the minimum TOEFL score, I should probably add that, is a score of 100. So you would need to, if you need to take an English proficiency exam, it will have to be the TOEFL, and the minimum score is 100. If we don't have any other questions on this particular slide, I would also like to add that there is a application fee of $125 required as a part of your application as you complete it. Again, this is a university requirement, and we don't have control over waivers, but the university does offer application fee waivers, and that is through the graduate admissions office as well. And I can also include the link later on in the presentation in the chat so that you can have access to that, or you can feel free to email us at hrpadmissions@stanford.edu with that question, and I will happily provide the link to that as well. I think we can go to the next slide, please. Oh, I should also add that as we're going to the next slide, that the 3 letters of recommendation are all submitted online. So we don't take paper letters of recommendation. As you put the information in for your recommenders, they'll receive a link at their email address. And so make sure you have a valid email address for them so that they can fill out that information for you. So here at the application deadline, so a number of people are applying for the Knight Hennessy Scholarship Program. We encourage you to get your application in by December 1st for quicker processing, but our final application deadline is December the 7th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. So unfortunately, that again is it's set by the university. Once it closes, we can't promise that we can do anything to open it back up for you. So I really encourage you to try and get all your materials submitted on time. A lot of people wait until the final hour to do that, and we've had instances where the system is overloaded and it crashes, and some people's applications don't make it through. So please, 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 please do not wait till 11 p.m. to submit your application, if possible. I know sometimes things happen, but let's do our best to make sure we get that in so that we can consider your application. And all applications are going to be considered in a very holistic manner. So the best thing that you can do to give your application the best chance is to submit all your materials, all the required materials, and to submit it on time. Those are the 2 biggest things that you can do. And you can see the link there for how to access the application and the application requirements.
Elizabeth, it's true, right, that they can, so when everything that the applicants have that they need to get ready, is done, they can submit, and the letters of recommendation will still come in, not after the deadline. I mean, the letters
Yes.
need to be submitted by the deadline, but it is, sorry, I'll let you finish. I'm sorry.
No. That's, thank you for bringing that up. That's very true. So if you say you were to submit your application today, you can go ahead, submit it, pay the fee, and it's considered submitted. Your application will not be considered complete, however, until those letters of recommendations come in. But they can come in after you have submitted your application, as long as it's before or by the deadline. And the same goes for any submitted scores like GRE or TOEFL scores. If you take the GRE or the TOEFL in at such a time where it may be difficult for us to get the scores before the application deadline, as long as you have taken the TOEFL or the GRE before the application deadline and you have submitted your self-reported scores in the application, it will still be added to your file automatically when we receive those scores. Because I know sometimes even the GRE's office or the TOEFL office may have delays in getting information to us. So as long as it is taken before the application deadline and those self-reported scores are on the application, all submitted before the deadline, when those official scores come in, they will still be automatically added to your file. So to note that for anyone who might have a question. And also to clarify, the Knight Hennessy application, scholarship application, the deadline for that was October the 6th. So hopefully anyone who was planning to apply for that scholarship has already done so. And you have to be sure to apply to our program separately. So this is a timeline of the application and the decision-making process. So again, applications due final deadline for our department for PhD program is December 7th. We really encourage Knight Hennessy scholars to try and get theirs in by the 1st. We will do an holistic application review between December through January. I would like to note that Stanford does have a winter closure from December 20th to we come back on January 3rd. So in that time frame, if you're emailing us about questions, emailing the office with questions, you may or may not get a response because technically the university is closed. So just be patient with us. And as soon as we get back from that close, we're happy to answer any questions, but know that they are being reviewed. If you are offered an interview, that would happen in early February. So you will be emailed and contacted via email with that invitation. And decisions and admissions will be offered in late February, and I would say to maybe like mid-March, thereabout. And you'll be able to see what decision has been made, and if you were offered admission, you'll be able to accept or decline or defer at that point.
Okay. All right, actually, so there are a few questions that I just want to quickly address in the Q&A. So one question was about the quantitative background. Again, those courses that the website lists, or those topics that the website lists, that's the sort of quantitative level that we are or that the admissions committee is interested in. Now, it doesn't mean that that quantitative, those skills or experience need to come from courses. It can be, we certainly have had applicants who have, done some coursework, but then in their done research that and work that reflects, a higher level of quantitative skills than their coursework has, or applicants who have taken Coursera courses or other courses that really build up their quantitative foundation. Again, as Elizabeth said, if you have those things in your basket, so to speak, please present them to the admissions committee. That that's getting back to that holistic review. So, and then there was a question about not getting a master's until October of 2022, you know, graduating later than the admissions deadline. There is no requirement that an applicant have a master's. The only requirement is that, you know, the bachelor's from a university or the equivalent there too. Oh, and apparently I'm sorry, my slide was unclear. 5 to 8 interviews means that's the number of applicants that we were interviewing per track. Just to, that wasn't that each applicant will have 5 to 8 interviews. And then, let's see, there was the GRE is truly optional. Somebody had asked a question about why Stanford isn't waiving the GRE. It is not required. GRE is not required for sure. Okay. Again, like if you want to take it, you know, then and feel that your scores are great, you know, reflect you know, strength of yours, please submit it. But if you don't want to take it or have not taken it, it is not, for us, it is not required.
Let me quickly answer this question about WES evaluated courses. So Stanford actually does not accept WES evaluated courses. What we require is just your transcript. And Stanford, a grad admissions office, they have a department that evaluates people's scores. So it's not necessary to submit a WES evaluated transcript. If you do, it will be considered an unofficial transcript. So if you do have a WES evaluated transcript already and you'd like to submit that as an unofficial transcript as part of your initial application, absolutely fine. But if you were admitted, we would need that official transcript directly from your institution.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Sorry, 2 questions in the chat. Link to the prerequisite quantitative courses, that's actually on the application page of the website. And the interviews, the interviews are all done virtually, will be done via Zoom. So that we do not have applicants come on campus for the interviews. Even before COVID, that was part.
There are 2 TOEFL questions that, can I answer those really quickly?
Please.
Yes, so the first one is asking about the TOEFL waiver, that it says that on the website, this is for people who English is not a first language, English is my first language, and my country is not on the list. Should I still fill out the waiver? My answer would be yes, it's better safe than sorry. I would go ahead and fill out the waiver. It's completely free to fill out. It doesn't take more than 5 minutes of your time. So I would say definitely yes. However, if the grad admissions office, for whatever reason, says that, you know, declines the waiver for whatever reason, then you may still be required to take the TOEFL. And again, it's a little bit frustrating, but it is a university requirement and not our department that has control over that. And the second question is asking if I have, for the TOEFL, if I have a master's degree that qualifies me to waive the TOEFL requirement, but I also have a pretty high TOEFL score, should I submit it? Would it be considered as a strength during the reviewing application? I would say at that point, if it's up to you, if you have a degree from a qualifying university or college that exempts you from taking the TOEFL, if you'd like to submit the TOEFL score, that's up to you. If not, then you've already qualified for a waivers automatically. So that's completely up to you.
Excellent. Okay, and the question about the interviews, if applicants are offered an interview, we try to give, or the plan at this point is to have applicants interview with multiple faculty members and potentially also with some of our older students. So that would, it depends on the scheduling and everything, but, you know, roughly 3 to 4 interviews would be the average, I would say, if folks are offered an interview. All right. So let's move on because there's some questions about funding sources, and then we'll try to return to about funding and what that entails, so I want to make sure we get to that, and then we'll come back to some other questions. So sorry, let me advance the slides. Okay, so there are, we have several different funding sources for students in our program, including Stanford fellowships, training grant, and or external funding that that students come in with. We are only making admissions if we are able to offer full funding, or if we have full funding for a student, and that would include funding for a stipend, and the stipend is also set by the university, and the tuition that's required for the program. Or if we see that the potential student or the applicant has full funding from an alternate source, for example, like the Knight Hennessy Scholarship. This is a School of Medicine rule. Again, this is not in the program's control. And due to funding restrictions, we are seldom able to offer admission to applicants who are not citizens or permanent residents of the US. And who do not have funding through these alternate sources such as Knight Hennessy or substantial funding from another non-Stanford source. So I know there are funding sources that are sometimes offered in other countries that applicants can then transfer to doing graduate work in programs in other countries. Again, we strongly encourage applicants who are not US citizens and not US permanent residents to apply for these alternate sources of funding. Okay, let's go on to the submitted questions. So I think the first three I actually just pretty much addressed. Again, no, we will not be able to make an offer without a student having full or very substantial funding. Because of this, we are limited in we are significantly limited in our ability to make offers to international students. This is something we are working on, but at this point, like we say on the website, we're just seldom able to make offers of admission due to these restrictions that we have. Let's see, we talked about the application fee and the waiver. Elizabeth covered that very well again. We did want to be sure to point out, if you ask for an application fee waiver, the admissions committee does not even know who has applied and who hasn't applied. We've had applicants in the past worried that it somehow might affect their application. The admissions committee does not even know. So if you would like to apply for a fee waiver, please do so. This will not in any way impact your application. Let's see. The question about, how are matriculating students assigned a faculty advisor? I touched on that. Basically, it's the factors that are taken into consideration are the student's interest, the track that they're interested in. We do assign these faculty advisor or advisors the summer before a student, an admitted student matriculates. And we just, again, try to match on interests and research methods. And that's, to provide that custom fit. All right, I am going to click on the next slide so that we have, you have that information up there. For questions about logistics, about the application, please reach out, send an email to that HRP admissions email. For questions about program structure or curriculum, please email me. I'm happy to answer questions. I apologize. I know there were a couple of questions in the Q&A about classes. Please feel free to reach out to me. I think those can be so person specific. I'm happy to answer questions like that. So please just send me an email. Let's see, the question about the global versus US centered focus. Does the program have a more global or US centered focus? Yes to both. We do, faculty working on both global health and health policy issues as well as US health policy issues. Question about stipend. We guarantee the stipend and tuition coverage for the first 4 years of the program. During that time, there is not a TA or RE requirement, though we encourage that, and we encourage also students to apply for other, potentially other sources of funding, whether that's an internal Stanford fellowship or an external fellowship like the Soros Fellowship or something like that. Those are things that we encourage students to do. Let's see, and for the interview process, a clarifying follow-up question: are the interviews typically structured as one interview with multiple faculty members, or what? Right. So what we try to do is have the applicant interview with multiple faculty members, usually 2 or 3, and do that, usually twice. However, sometimes there's, again, because of scheduling, we might have more one-on-one interviews. It depends on our scheduling availability, and that's how it's usually run. But applicants who get an interview or offered an interview will be notified about how that's all going to be happening in terms of who they would be interviewing with, and who they, whether it's multiple faculty or just one. Okay, let me just check the chat. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Emanuela, the MD PhD, so I'll try to answer this really quickly because I know we're at time. I don't want to hold too many people over. The student is considering an MD PhD. How does taking coursework for this program typically play out with the medical courses? How long does it take? Actually, I don't, in terms of the length of time, it's definitely a lot. It's not as much as doing them separately, but I think you would have to factor at least probably 7 years, 6-7 years of work. The MD PhD program, I would encourage you to go to the MD PhD program site. It's the MSTP site. And they give you, they'll give you very clear information about the various how the MD PhDs usually mesh together with the coursework. Okay, all right. And please feel free to reach out with any additional questions. I do want to reach out to those emails with additional questions. I think we should probably call it here, and to let people go. Just, with the ones that we haven't answered, please reach out to us, and we'll try to get all your questions answered. Thank you all for joining us. I hope this was helpful, and we, again, I hope to hear from you if you have any further questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.